Hello there folks, welcome back to the Chap's Guide. My name is Ash, I am your host on this journey through men's style, self-development and personal grooming. And as you know, I use the expression that we're all on a journey to Chap Nirvana. Now for me, Chap Nirvana is that place where we're happy, we're stylish, we're comfortable, we're self-confident and we're brimming with self-esteem. And to get there, we can help each other. And the way I'm helping you folks today is to answer some of the questions which have come in to me here at the channel as I sit here next to my fire on a very blustery day at Oak Lodge, my woodland retreat. So, first question, let's have a look, what have we got? This is from Windsurf Red Bull. Okay. Hey Ash, Mike here from Boston, USA. Do you wear any black tie outfits like tuxedos or midnight navy tuxedos and to any events there? Near the holidays, I've been taking some velvet blazers that I like. So there we go. Interesting question. So, do I wear tuxedos? Well, I don't really wear tuxedos because here in the UK we call them black tie or dinner suit. I think it's a bit of an American thing to call such evening wear as tuxedos, but I understand what you mean. And yes, I do wear tuxedos, as you say, as often as I can really, because I really do enjoy dressing up to go out for an evening. It makes you feel kind of special, doesn't it? You know, to put on your finery and spend time with other like-minded, similarly dressed people. So I had to think about this when you asked me this question, and in the last year I've only been to 2 events which mandated black tie in a way, and even that wasn't quite that, because I went to a wedding in which it was black tie, so to speak, was the wear. That was in Philadelphia in the USA, and then later, gosh, it's quite a windy day here, towards the end of the year I was invited to give an after-dinner talk at a gentleman's club in a nearby town to where I live, and the gentlemen meet there once a month, I think it is, and they all dress in black tie for their club meeting, so I went in similar fashion. So yeah, I've had 2 black tie events this year. Not enough. I wish there were 3 times that many, to be honest, but you know, you take what you can get. You asked or posed a question about wearing velvet blazers in place of black tie, I believe. That's what I draw from your question. And to a degree, yeah, you know, it is possible to wear less formal black tie, but you need to be a little careful about the event that you're attending. So if the event you're attending, if there is an expectation you're going to wear traditional black tie, which is, you know, a black dinner suit with a black bow tie, I think it's kind of your responsibility to follow the instructions and dress in that manner. However, if it's a less formal event, and maybe even the invitation might state festive black tie or alternative black tie, these are the terms they normally use, then I think you can throw caution to the wind and wear, you know, the nice velvet blazer or whatever you have in your collection. But just be a little careful, because you don't want to be the only person dressed up in a velvet dinner jacket if everybody else has gone down the traditional route. But yeah, why not? If you can, go for it. Next question from Gorgeous George, who says, I am 46 and I love wearing hats. I have them in several different styles and I wear them with boots. Here is a question for you for your next Q&A. I have designed my own leather biker jacket and I'm having it manufactured. To what extent do you indulge in customized clothing, and would you ever do so, such as consider designing your own pieces? Well, first of all, congratulations, you've, you know, dipped your toe into the world of customized garmentry, even if it is a leather biker jacket. And I think when you're going to customized items for your clothing, it affords you this magnificent opportunity, doesn't it, to choose things which are very unique to you and things which can then be very special with your own stamp on them, which will make them something, as I say, special and unique to you as an individual. I don't really have the opportunity to indulge in customized things at the moment, and when I say at the moment, it's because I'm not that financially well off. You know, I'm an ordinary guy, same as you. I don't have the funds which typically go along with having customized things. Now, if I've made a list, what sort of things could you have customized? Well, firstly, I've said it before, and it's always going to be my little thing. When the day comes that my ship comes in and I've got sufficient money, the first thing I would like to have customized would be some shirts. And I would be going to Turnbull and Asser, the London Jermyn Street shirt manufacturer, as my shirt maker of choice. Now, just a bit further down the street, you've also got Harvey and Hudson, who I might try as well. But first of all, I'd like to go to Turnbull and Asser, and I'd like to have one of their customized shirts made in my exacting style, because you can choose every element of the shirt, the collar, the cuffs, the fit, the material, everything about that shirt would be unique. And of course, as a shirt is something which you put next to your skin, to me, that's something I would like to invest in and, you know, just customize and have exactly what I want. I also happen to know that they are of exceptional quality and they're made to a standard which you won't find anywhere else. I mean, Turnbull and Asser, you know, they've been making shirts for the great and the good for a very long time. King Charles III, for instance. The first royal warrant that he ever issued when he was Prince of Wales was to his shirt maker, Turnbull and Asser. And to me, that sort of lends a lot of weight to them. Same for James Bond. You know, they still to this day make the shirts worn by James Bond in the movies. And for me, that is just a little bit of heritage, tradition, and credence, which I would like to have of my own. It's not cheap though. I believe you have to order an initial batch of 6 in one go to make it worth their while. And I think the initial costs would be for that, you know, they're about £200 to £300 per shirt, maybe a setup charge for that as well. So it's not cheap. But that's where I would like to go with Customised. Of course, there's also suits. A little way from Jermyn Street, Turnbull and Asser, you can of course walk down the famous Savile Row, the home of the world's greatest tailors. And I was fortunate enough to visit Dejan Skinner, one of the better tailoring houses on the row, number 10 Savile Row, earlier in the year. And I admired their fine traditional, beautiful garments they have there. But you know, an entry-level bespoke suit, just 2-piece, would cost you £5,000, there or thereabouts. So we are talking, you know, we're talking rich man's money here, really. Shoes, you could go bespoke on shoes. Again, similar sort of price point as a suit, really. Unless you wanted to go a little cheaper with some of the sort of new world manufacturers. But a little bit cheaper, which is affordable for us all, might be a tie. You can customize a tie. And I've been thinking about making or having some ties commissioned for the Nirvana Club, the people who follow, you know, the Chap's Nirvana pilgrimage journey. That's something that may happen at some point in the future. But of course, you can then access, you know, ties if you order them in a batch, probably about £30 a tie, which makes it an ultimately, you know, acceptable price point for most of us. So yeah, customization may happen to me in the future, but I just need to win that lottery first of all. But good luck with your leather jacket. All right then, so next question from Joe McGrath, who says, could you provide an overview of your trusted brands for shirts and trousers, formal and casual? I'm new to being well dressed and only know a few places to turn to. It would help if I could add a few trusted brands. Okay, so shirts I've already mentioned, Turnbull and Asser. Now I own loads of Turnbull and Asser shirts, but I've actually picked them up off eBay, not the customized ones, but their standard collection. And you can often find them on places like eBay, Vinted, other pre-owned or auction sites where people sell off their stuff occasionally. Maybe they've gained weight, they've lost weight, they've died, stuff goes on the market, you can pick them up cheaply. I've owned maybe 24 Turnbull and Asser shirts, got a couple of Harvey and Hudson shirts. They are remarkable, all right? So they're definitely something you can turn to if you're working the pre-owned market. When it comes to shirts, I would say try the different brands which are largely available out there. Now, believe it or not, probably getting on for 10 years ago, I bought 6 or 7 shirts from Costco. You know, their own house brand is Kirkland. They were probably £15 a shirt. I bought 3 white ones and 3 light blue ones. Do you know, to this day, they are still some of the best quality shirts I've ever bought. The cotton quality was excellent, they wash perfectly, they iron very well, and they have been my workhorse shirts for nearly a decade. And I paid £15 a shirt for them. So shop around, try some different brands. Depends where you live in the world. If you live in the UK, try big department stores like Marks and Spencer, Next, or whatever your own sort of low price or medium price shirt buying opportunities are wherever you live. Give it a try. You'll find some which undoubtedly will prove to be very good. When it comes to trousers, that's a bit harder because you're making a considered purchase there, because trousers are not cheap, and you don't want to buy a pair which aren't going to be very good for you. I can give you a couple of brands which I've turned to over time. Obviously, you've got mass market brands now like Charles Tyrrell, which are fairly modestly priced and deliver something fairly decent. Joseph Turner make very good trousers as well, higher in price, but certainly higher in quality. And Peter Christian, they make good shirts, jumpers, trousers, good all-round brands here in the UK. In America, Canada, other parts of the world, you've got to find out what works for you wherever you live. Okay, now next question, a little bit more philosophical. This is from Big Bones Food Reviews. And he says, Ash, what is your opinion of the lack of respect in the modern world? As a man of a similar age to yourself, I find myself wondering where we went wrong in society. To quote my late father, things were so much better when I was a lad. I feel a kind of similar thing. You do see some younger people exhibiting poor manners in the world today. I think that is largely because of parental guidance, because I've got a teenage son, and let me tell you, he's a very mannerable young man, because he gets firm direction from his father, as I did from my parents. So it is really important, I think, for us, if you're a parent, to make sure your kids are guided in the right direction. But there are some reasons, and I've given some thought to this actually, as to why generally the standard of respect in the world has declined over the last few years. Firstly, I would say the erosion of face-to-face communication. When we go back maybe to my childhood, and I'm 53, when I was growing up in my teens and even younger, any communication which was undertaken with people generally was in face-to-face. I would talk to people. I was accustomed to putting together sentences respectfully to people who were generally older than me, who I had more esteem for. If you think about it, largely that's been removed from the world today. Children who engage with their grandparents, maybe distant relatives, it's all done by text message, by video message, FaceTime, and a lot of that learned experience that we see our parents when they speak to other people, when we're young children, we don't see it anymore. So kids today are losing the role models that taught them to be respectful, because they're not witnessing it in the lives that they lead. The other thing I've put down here is cultural shifts in values, and just generally, because modern society today, it seems to prioritize things like acquisition of things, of competition with other people. It's all about winning. It's not about taking part. It's about individuality. It's all about me, isn't it? And you look at social media, influencers, and they live in this totally self-obsessed world where it's about them doing well, what things can I acquire, what valuable things are in my possession. And to a degree, younger people who are growing up in this era, they are looking to these people as role models. These sort of culture grabbers, who are contributing very little to the world, but expecting everything to come in their direction. And I think they're very palatable and savoury role models for young people to follow. And if I encountered anybody today who said to me, if I asked them, what do you want to do when you grow up? And they might say something like, I want to be a social media influencer or a YouTube, I really struggle not to laugh in their face. Because really, you need to get your mind straight if you think that is a profession or a job. It's a hobby, a little bit of fun, I know some people can make millions of pounds out of it, but the reality is, it's a fantasy for most people. And I think our cultural values have shifted to people thinking about, the easy life, getting things without as little effort as possible put into that acquisition. So cultural changes. The other thing is the decline generally in civility and manners. How often these days are you addressed as sir or madam if you're a female, or somebody who identifies as a female, in public life? If you walk into a shop, even a shop where I'm being served by somebody, it beggars belief to me that somebody will address me as mate or buddy. In my life, if I meet a stranger whom I don't know by name in the street and I have occasion to attract their attention or speak to them, I would address them as sir or madam, because that is the respectful thing to do to a stranger, particularly if it's somebody who is older than you or more senior in life through age or experience or whatever it may be. You don't see that anymore. We are not addressed in that way in general life. So civility is declining, in the modern world. And that's a tragedy. It's all part of everybody wanting to be a little bit special. And if they can't be a little bit special, they remove that from other people who are actually a bit more special because of their experiences in life. Because that way it makes you feel better, doesn't it? If you're equal to everybody else. The other thing I've put here, stress and mental health challenges. Because we live in an incredibly fast-paced world, modern life coupled with, these high levels of stress, which strains relationships with people, and people seem to have decreased tolerance of everything. People become angry so easily in this modern world. You only got to look at social media, the expression Karens, isn't it? People who exhibit excessive frustration or anger at something which is basically, nothing. It's incidental. But some people can get their knickers in a twist and they just want to cause a fight or a public confrontation over nothing at all. And I put that down a lot to mental ill health, really negative mindsets that people have as they progress through life. And this maybe, again, is what we might see as perceived lack of respect in the world today around us. And the final thing I put here is educational emphasis on testing in schools rather than character development. I seem to, and as a parent of a child who is of school age, it fascinates me that in schools today they have Pride Week, they accept various sort of cultural things these days as being important in the school world, and then the schools are really focused on passing tests, but they are not really assisting the children to flourish and build into their own personalities, to become stronger, more powerful little people, growing into adults, testing their own self-character. Because the children today, they're being trained in a different way. Schools have very narrow degrees of what they look at about academic focus rather than character development. Now, in my life, my son, he doesn't, I made sure that he had other activities outside of school because I wanted him to develop more fully as an adult. He plays a sport. He plays field hockey. Goes to a field hockey club. He's got friends in field hockey. He is a scout. He's a Boy Scout. So he goes camping with the Scouts. He goes to a Scout night every Friday night. So he learns with all his this other group of friends. He's doing the Duke of Edinburgh Award scheme. I'm doing everything I can to ensure that my son has got a broad outlook on life and it's not narrowly focused on education in school. If I left it to the school solely to bring my child into his adulthood, it would be a sorry state that he would grow into. It's up to us parents. It's our responsibility. We've got to get the job done, nobody else. Okay, so next question. Moving swiftly on. After that rather long one. This is from NKBH5GW. Catchy name, sir. Hi Ash, will you be downsizing your watch collection? I have a Rolex Datejust 36 and I love it. I had anticipated moving further into the Rolex collection, but its utility and versatility basically made the need for another Rolex redundant. You're absolutely right, sir. If you have got a Rolex Datejust, you've got all the watch that you're ever going to need. All I will say to you is do not get dragged in to the Rolex marketing hype, which I'm sorry to say, I'm ashamed to say, it drew me in. My first watch was a Datejust 36mm. I could have stopped there and I could have needed go no further in my watch owning journey. That watch I could have worn every day for the rest of my life. It would have been perfect. I could have worn it in the pool, I could have worn it with my suit, it would have done the job. I got sucked into the Rolex world. Well, I'm wearing a bloody Rolex GMT Master 2 here. It's a lovely watch, but I don't need it. My Datejust would have been equally as good. So don't be drawn into that Rolex marketing madness, because there's no end to it. They will keep bringing out slight variations of their watch collection every year, and you will think, ooh, I really fancy that one. And you might sell the old one to buy a new one, and it'll be a never-ending sort of race to nowhere. If you've got a Datejust 36, you've got all the watch you're ever going to need. If you can find satisfaction with that, please do. You'll save yourself a load of money and a load of stress along the way. My own watch journey is definitely changing. I've got 5 Rolex watches and a Tudor watch in my collection, and it is my intention to change that entirely in the next year or two. But I'm going to make a specific video on my Rolex journey, which will come up quite soon on the channel, which will explain why I have had a change of heart with that brand. So, last one I think here. Who's this one from? This is from Gino, who says to me, "Dear Ash, I wanted to let you know I'm really enjoying watching your YouTube videos, and I'm impressed with your ability to speak clearly and engagingly." Thank you, sir. Excuse me, bit of smoke. Perhaps food for thought on the sartorial front. Is there a way to look sharp when engaged in work of a physical nature, or what could be called blue-collar activities? What a great question, Gino. Because, you know, a large number of us, myself included, for many portions of my life, I worked in blue-collar jobs, unskilled work, where I would frequently expect to have, you know, I couldn't wear fancy clothing to work, and I used to wear functional utility clothing, not dissimilar to what I'm wearing now, in a way. And how do you make yourself stand out from the crowd, the proletariat, when you wear maybe a work uniform as such? And the secret is this. You wear the clothing that you've got to the best of its ability. That is, you make sure that all the details are perfect. If you're wearing overalls to work, for instance, you make sure that your overalls, they are clean and they are pressed and they look sharp, all right? They might be exactly the same overalls as everybody else working in your working environment, but your overalls look a little bit better, because you clean them more often, you wash them every week, you iron them, you press them, you make the difference. Other than the next schlob in the work queue who's got his overalls, they get thrown into the washing machine, the dryer, put straight on, they're all wrinkled and creased. He doesn't take a pride in his appearance, whereas you clearly do. You're going to be wearing some form of footwear to work. Even if you're wearing steel toe cap boots, you can keep them clean, you can keep them in good order. Now, that does not necessarily mean that you put a mirror shine on the steel toe caps, but at the very least they can be free of mud and detritus, and they can be clean and presentable. Whatever you've got there, make it look the best that it can be. Right? It's never going to be a mirror shine Oxford black cap to Oxford, but even your work boot can look better than the other guys in the room. That's the secret. And don't forget, personal grooming makes you stand out from the crowd. If you're working in an environment, blue-collar environment, many of the other men may not shave, they certainly may not wear a fragrance. You can be the clean-shaven, fresh-smelling man. In my working environment in the past, I can tell you, I've sat in cars and worked a shift next to chaps who did not smell particularly good. They were malodorous because they did not pay attention to their personal grooming. And in my mind, I always remembered them as being the slightly pungent guys. Whereas anybody who's ever sat next to me in a car will leave the car thinking, my God, that guy smelled good. And in fact, many times people would say to me, what aftershave are you wearing? That's a great one. If nothing else, even if you can't make a difference with the way that you look, make a difference with the way that you smell. And remember, it's all about being the best dressed man in the room. Even if we're all wearing the same clothes, if it's a uniform that we're wearing, by focusing on the details of that uniform, you can stand out from the crowd. You can be the dapper man. If you're wearing an overall, right, and you know, wear a cravat or a scarf around your neck, under your overall, around the collar, to keep you warm, to keep you stylish. Little touches like that you can make, rather than just going with the lowest common denominator like everybody else. What you should not do, though, is dress eccentrically. And in thinking about answering this question, I remember a time many years ago when I was a young man. Well, I was in my mid-20s. I just left the military and I was waiting to take up a job in law enforcement. I'd been offered a job and I had a 6-month hiatus between the two jobs. So I took a job working in a factory. I was about 27 at the time, so I was quite mature. Served 10 years in the military, so you know I understood a bit about the world. And it was a job in a factory where everybody wore the same working uniforms, which were branded by the company we were working for. And there were people doing different jobs in the factory. Obviously, I was working in the warehouse, driving a forklift truck. There were guys, engineers, who worked on the machinery, which was creating the thing that we made there. And of course, they were, you know, sort of higher paid because they were in skilled jobs. And I remember one guy particularly who was a maintenance engineer. Nothing of consequence, you know, he was a guy who came and fixed things. He was kind of the machine handyman. But he had quite an inflated sense of self-worth because, you know, he referred to himself as an engineer rather than just one of the guys in the factory. And he wore the same overalls as everybody else. But he wore a shirt with a tie underneath his overalls. And I remember thinking to myself, he is doing that specifically to try and give a visual cue to people around him that he is of a higher level than them. He's a higher tier worker. Maybe he probably got paid a little more than them. He was in a skilled job, and many of them weren't. But I used to think to myself, what an asshole, because he's wearing his clothing in a way to try and suppress the sense of self-worth of the guys who were working alongside him in the factory. And he needed that boost to his own personality to think that, you know, I wear a collar and tie. But he was in a dirty job, getting his hands dirty, wearing overalls the same as me. But with his ridiculous collar and tie, it just didn't work at all. It was him trying to impose a hierarchy of appearance when it was fundamentally inappropriate in that situation. So do not go down the eccentric route by wearing, you know, a pocket square on your overalls. Focus on the little things. You can be the best dressed man in the room simply by paying attention to the small detail, and that's all you need to do. You will stand out. It's the subtle things. Remember, when you're the best dressed man in the room, the secret is that people know you are the best dressed man, but they can't really put their finger on it why. It's not by dressing as a clown, it's by dressing sharply. I hope that will help you. So there we go. That's all my questions today. Just remember, respect is earned. It's not worn in the clothing that you wear. So go along that path and you won't go far wrong. Now, I hope you've enjoyed this. I think it's going to be my last fireside chat from Oak Lodge for this phase of me being here over the festive period. I think we've had enough of this now. So I'm heading back to my normal content from this point on. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it's been interesting for you. And it's helped you get through midwinter. But I'm going to leave it there for now. If you've enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more, click subscribe. If you would like to support the channel, you can just buy me a coffee, which is nice. You can even become a patron, where you will get additional video content from me each and every week. I drop an extra video for my patrons, exclusive to them. If you want to find out how to get in on all that, you will find the links in the show notes below. So until the next time, take care, and I will see you again very soon.